I just can't stop dancing. Welcome to the Hoedown on the Show, right here on Shaw TV. My name is Matt Carter. Welcome to episode number 147, the 12th episode of our 7th season. Very happy to have you with us. Our musical guests right in behind me from Salt Spring Island, actually, the Buck Dodgers Stringband. Not to be confused with the Buck Dodgers ringtone or the LA Dodgers spring training. These old-time string band got some great Americana tunes for us. Looking forward to hear them and meet them throughout the hour. On today's show, now housing is actually a big issue here in Nanaimo. Of course, supportive housing, doubly so. The Island Crisis Care Society is in the midst of a very important fundraising program relating to this. We're going to find out more about it and also highlight a local business doing their part to help out and try to inspire you and your business to help out as well. Sticking with housing issues, we're also welcoming representatives from the Wisteria Community Association to the studio. Tell us about their Stone Soup program, looking to feed the homeless here in Nanaimo. They're also looking for donations and volunteer assistance as well. We're very happy to welcome our resident magician, Craig McKee, back to the program for some more feats of magic. Not to be confused with Fred Astaire, who is more on the magic feet side. They're both very smooth operators anyways, all the same. We're very happy to have Craig back. Now that spring is here, golfers, they're getting ready to tee off, but today on the program, we're going to tee on. Yes, we're going to focus on my favorite hot beverage, that being tea, with a traditional tea time. Yes, tea is steeped in history as well as water. But first here on the program, we're going to meet an author who is using writing as a tool to move through the grieving process. Very powerful stuff, very strong stuff. So get comfy for your favorite Vancouver Island stories. It's the show right here on Shaw Television.
Grief and loss is a major factor in the development of social isolation for many older adults. However, artistic endeavors such as writing your memoirs can be a very cathartic healing process. And today I have the great pleasure of having as my guest on this show a social worker, community worker, and former Dean of Human Services at Vancouver Island University, Carol Matthews. Also, local author. Welcome, Carol.
Thanks very much, Jane. It's a pleasure.
So, Carol, I know you've written a lot of books. You've done 3 memoirs and
4
memoirs and 2 books. And your most recent book, which is entitled Minerva's Owl: The Bereavement Phase of My Marriage.
That's right.
So, this book you started writing when?
Well, I started writing it just after my husband died 6 years ago, and it started in the form of letters and notes and took many different forms and shaped over that time. I thought I had finished it a couple of years ago, and in fact it was accepted for publication, and then in the past year things shifted a bit, and so fortunately the publisher was very slow getting the book out, and I had time to write the last chapter, which was actually last Easter.
Okay. Now, I know your book is written in a number of stages, so can you share a little bit about what the process was?
Well, I was inspired by C.S. Lewis saying bereavement is not the truncation of a marriage, but another phase, like the honeymoon. And so I thought, what does that mean? And I started, at first I wrote just sheer grieving. And then I started thinking about what was it like when you were first engaged and were really longing. We were apart for a while and longing for that person. And then I ended up writing all these gerunds, you know, and words that end in ing. It was grieving, longing, belonging, the married life, mourning, what happens with that phase where you are going through the sort of public, I guess, acknowledgement of grief. And cleaving, I thought, was the end. And then, as I say, just last year, I thought, things have shifted, and I wrote surviving, because you do live after, and there is still a life to be lived. So that those sections shaped it, but I really didn't know at the beginning what the end was going to be, as is often the case with writing.
Now, I know you've done some teaching at the Seniors Connect program,
Yes.
helping people write their memoirs, family stories. Can you share a little bit about why this is something for everyone? I know you're a published author, but how could someone like me get involved in something like that?
Well, for me, the reason I write anything is to understand how I think and feel about something. And I think when you write your memoir, you not only get a chance to really understand some things that you didn't see so clearly before, you also get a chance to recapture the past a bit. It's almost like you get to live your life again by writing it. And then there's the other benefit that for your family, it's often helpful. My first memoir was the first 3 years of a grandmother's life. My granddaughter is 15 now, and even she is glad to have those accounts of the early years there. So it matters, I think, within a family. But it's mostly just sheer pleasure, really, to actually understand what it is that you've been going through.
Now, when you're going through the stages of grief, there are a lot of stages. When you're writing, was it a similar process? Like, do you go through each of those phases?
Every piece of writing is different, just like every grief is different. I mean, all those experiences are unique. Okay. And it's hard to say what the process is. The main tip I give people is just do it. Sit down and write it, and you'll be surprised how meaningful it can become.
Well, I had shared with you just before we started that my family, my father comes from a family of 16, and a few years ago they did a book following a family reunion, and it has just become a treasure for all of us because he's 81, and of course, being one of the youngest, there's so many of these memories that wouldn't have been passed down if someone hadn't taken the time to write this down. So now, can you tell me a little bit about the title, Minerva's Owl?
Oh, well, Minerva's the goddess of wisdom. And I became interested in that Minerva's owl because the philosopher Hegel said, Minerva's owl spreads her wings only with the coming of the dusk, by which he meant the past cannot be relived, but it can be known. And for me, the knowing of it is very important.
Thank you so much for sharing this with us today, Carol. I really strongly encourage everyone to get out there and get a copy of Minerva's Owl, the bereavement of a phase of my marriage. And now I'm going to check in with Matt Carter.
Thank you very, very much, Jane. And thank you, Carol, as well, for being here. Again, really powerful stuff through the power of words and the value of going through your memories, writing it out, taking the time to reflect, obviously shown there in your book and work. So highly recommended for everyone. So thanks again for being here. Next on the program now, I'd like to generate some attention for an incredibly worthwhile supportive housing program here in Nanaimo, and also in a few minutes recognize a local organization that's also been doing some amazing work helping out as well. So I'd like to introduce our crew here we'd like to speak with from the Island Crisis Care Society, Executive Director Violet Hayes, from Samaritan House Program Director Ronelle Bosman, and from Steve Marshall Ford Lincoln, Community and Guest Relations Lead Krista Ferris. Welcome the three of you to the program.
Thank you.
Very happy to have you guys. So first off, Violet, let's start with you and just give our viewers sort of a little bit of a overview of what the Island Crisis Care Society is all about.
Island Crisis Care Society provides shelter and housing and supports for people in the Nanaimo and Parksville areas. We've been around since the early 80s, and our biggest program and first program actually is Samaritan House, and that's what we're here to talk about today, the expansion to Samaritan House campaign.
That's right, and I know the particular campaign is called More Room for Hope, if I got that correct. So yeah, a little background on that campaign, then more specifics on that.
In 2012, we purchased the property next door to Samaritan House because it's a very old, 100-year-old house. And so we recognized the need for more room. And so we've been working through the process and just recently have just actually launched our campaign to raise $2 million. And you may have received these in the mail. And we've sent these out and have had a great response so far. And other organizations are coming and stepping up and doing great things to help us.
Absolutely, yeah. In a few minutes, we're going to meet or talk about one of those organizations in particular. I want to talk to Ronelle here quickly. So again, your job against the program director for Samaritan House, managing a lot of the emergency services, transitional housing. There's a lot of stories, of course, in Nanaimo now about homelessness and the supports needed. So what is Samaritan House doing for folks here in Nanaimo? Who is it for?
It is an emergency shelter for women 19 years and older. And it is for anybody that's homeless or at risk of homelessness. So we really have been very full lately, and it's not getting better. Our latest statistics was for January was 112% occupancy, and we still turned people away 103 times. And in February it was 114%, and we still turned people away 86 times. And our space is so small, and we still put up to 4 or 6 mats down every night just to accommodate people. But you can only take so many people, and you can only support so many people. So this expansion is really to get more room.
Absolutely, yes. And then that's, I guess you'd say, then that is the main thing sort of holding Samaritan House back from really fulfilling its full potential.
Oh,
is
definitely,
space,
yeah. There's no space to do any life skill groups or any support groups. There's no space for their belongings. It's just an unhealthy environment, and I think it will be so much better with more space.
And Violet, go back to you. So again, that's what this More Room for Hope campaign is all about. So raising, I guess, money towards that expansion. Is there any sort of plans for having that going, or a timeline for that at all? Or?
Yes, we're hoping by early next year to be actually going on the project. It's a big project, of course, $2 million. There's a lot of money to raise, but we really believe that we can do this, and we can't sit back anymore. As I say, we've been working on it for a few years, but the time is now, because when we started this project, it was more that we wanted to be able to do those life skills that Renelle talked about. But now it's crisis, because we're turning away so many women. And when we turn these women away, some of them in their 70s, it's heartbreaking. And then where are we sending them to? There's nowhere else to go. So sometimes a couple of days later, they'll come back to the door and they've been beaten or raped. And that's just not acceptable. We believe that when people in Nanaimo hear about this, they're going to step forward, and they've started. And so that's why we're very happy to be here.
Yeah, no, it's a grim reality that really should not be a reality. And I know obviously the work of the organizations helping toward that, but also work of outside organization as well. So do you want to bring Krista into the conversation now from Steve Marshall Ford Lincoln here in Nanaimo? Krista, how did your business get involved with raising funds for the Island Crisis Care Society?
Violet actually had contacted Anne-Marie from Steve Marshall Ford Lincoln asking if we could help in raising $10,000. Anne-Marie asked me to forward a message saying, unfortunately, that's $10,000 we can't commit to, but what we will do is from December 31st to January 31st, every vehicle purchased through Steve Marshall Ford Lincoln, $200 would be donated to the Island Crisis Care Society. And well, we surpassed that. Yeah, we did. I was fortunate to let Violet know that we couldn't commit to $10,000 because we could do way better than that. And actually, we can by so much more. $23,600.
We get a round of applause from all the folks here. This is incredible stuff. Violet, what does it mean to you to get a donation from a local business?
It's huge. I mean, it's absolutely huge. We're just so thankful. And I want to put the challenge out to other car dealerships. Like, if they can do that, there's the challenge. We hope that other car dealerships will try and match it, and then we'll have a real competition on our hands.
Perfect. Awesome. All right. Well, again, thank you, Krista, and everyone from Steve Marshall Ford. Obviously, money where the mouth is, or where the motors are, I guess. And Violet and Renelle, thank you again for very difficult but very important work for what you guys are doing here in Nanaimo. So thanks to you and the society as well. And as we mentioned to the folks out there in viewerland, we're seeing folks step up. Please get out there, contact the Island Crisis Care Society, and help out the More Room for Hope campaign. All right, so now we bring this back to our musicians right about now. The Buck Dodgers Stringband, get all the way overseas from Salt Spring Island. Another tune first here on the show on Shaw TV.
Call me Pappy. One named Paul, the other one Davy. One likes ham, the other one gravy. Hey, black-eyed Susie, hey. Hey, black-eyed Susie, hey. Black-eyed Susie went huckleberry picking. She came home, took a licking. Some get drunk, some get boozy, but I'm going home, black-eyed Susie. Hey,
Oh, great stuff there from the Buck Dodgers Stringband. Black-Eyed Susie here for you on the show on Shaw TV. I'll be actually chatting with the band in about 10 minutes time. Looking forward to that. So stay tuned to hear them, meet them, and again, we'll have some more music. From music to magic now. Very happy to welcome back magician Craig McKee to the show. Craig, thanks back for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me.
Solid handshake too as well. All right,
we
so
do what we can.
What the heck are we looking at here today?
What we're looking at here today is one of my absolute favorite things. It's called the Scam Stand. Now, the Scam Stand it's a table that I bring to various fundraisers to augment their efforts. The basic premise is I show up, I do magic, but while I'm doing magic, I encourage the wagering of wits.
Well, I'm kind of playing with an empty wallet here. So,
don't worry, so am I.
Okay, fair enough.
Now, the big thing is that when a patron of the event comes up, they place their bet. I let them choose from any one of a million different scams, swindles, bar bets that I'm very well acquainted with. And if they win, they get that and a souvenir from the event. And of course, if they don't, they get the souvenir, but their money gets added to the donations for the evening.
Fair enough.
So these are some of the swindles and scams that I enjoy.
Well, the shot glass looks empty, so I'll go for the poker chips.
Fair enough.
Right.
It's always empty. It's a shame.
Yeah.
Now, for this, we'll do this. Quick little observation. That's all that this is. We'll use two antes, one for me, one for you. We'll get rid of these, and we'll use, 5 1,000 chips. Are you ready?
I like chips.
Nice and simple. I'm going to take the 2 5s. I'm going to, in an alternating fashion, pick up the thousands. Because there's 5 1,000 chips, one of these two hands must be valued differently than the other. Right?
Yep.
So one of these will have 2, one of these will have 3. That's your job. My job is to make sure you can't keep track of that.
Uh-oh, okay.
So my job is to basically confuse you just a little bit while I pick these up. Unfortunately, you're watching exceedingly closely. Now, if I were to ask you the value of, we'll call them, for example, hand 1 and hand 2. Now, where almost everybody goes wrong off the start is they forget about the 2 5s.
Yes.
So, the value of hand 1, the value of hand 2.
I'm going to say that one's 2005, that one's 3005.
2005, 3005. You remembered the 5s, and in a general sense, you're correct. Hand 2 is valued higher than hand 1. However, by a greater margin than perhaps you initially expected. Now, I will say, if we were actually doing this for the donation, I wouldn't take it at this point because I didn't warn you that I was going to cheat.
I kind of expect it's almost a...
Well, it is called the Scam Stand, so it's sort of to be expected. So what we're going to do is we're going to simplify the whole process. We're going to get rid of the thousands. We're only going to use these 2 chips.
All right.
I am going to cheat, just to let you know. I'm going to reach in. I'm going to remove either both chips, either a single chip, or no chips at all.
All right.
Same thing, you tell me the value of each hand. It's my job to make sure that, as good as you may be guessing, you're not able to. Hand 1, hand 2.
Hand 1, hand 2. Okay, well, we got 2 5 chips. I'm going to say there's 1 in each one, so 5 and 5.
5 and 5, perfect. This is the part of any fundraising evening where I would thank you very much for your donation for the down. And this is why the Scam Stand works very, very well. A lot of people have known me as the con man for years, and so I like to carry this over into different fundraising efforts and shows, and it's just fun.
Yes, we'll have to get you the Crisis Care Society, I think. That's pretty much a guaranteed winner right there. So.
There we go. Oh, trust me, they're all guaranteed winners for me.
Nice, love it. All right, so where can people find more information about your shows, your tricks, and all that jazz?
BespokeShows.com. Bespoke basically means tailor-made, and that's something I'm very pleased to present, is tailor-made shows to anybody who hires me, communicating your desired message for that event.
Perfect. All right. Well, great magic here. Very happy to have you back on the show. Craig McKee again, bespokeshows.com. .com it is, exactly. And we'll hope to have you back here again and where I can be scammed repeatedly.
Sounds good. Thank you very much, Matt.
Better you than the CRA. All right. All right. Moving things along, we're going to switch things up here from mysterious to Wisterious as the very super Cathy Holmes checks in to see what's cooking with the Wisteria Community Association. Cathy, over to you.
Oh my goodness, with that has got to be one of the silliest jokes I think I've heard in a very, very long time. Thank you, Matt and Craig. That was awesome. I tell you, if you're going to do something and create a good cause, then this is the show that you need to watch all the time, because this is the show you're going to find out where the really important stuff is in our community. With me once again is a good friend now from formerly Nob Hill. It's now called Wisteria Community Association. Andrew Homsey. Okay, 3 shows we've done this together, and I'm still having Homsey, Andrew Homsey, and Jennifer Curtis.
Without the I.
Without the I. Kurtz.
Yes.
Jennifer Kurtz. Everybody who watches this show knows that I screw up names. It's my thing. And this is Aurora. Welcome, Aurora. Today we're going to talk about something really serious, though, aren't we? We've got something new.
Yes.
Tell me about Stone Soup.
Well, Stone Soup is a program to feed the homeless, to feed people in need, and it's a nightly event from 6 o'clock until 10 o'clock at night, and the location is at near Milton and Nickel Road, right across Nickel Street, right across from the McDonald's there.
Yeah, it's right around Wisteria Lane in
Wisteria
there, isn't it?
Lane, that's where it takes its name. Wisteria Lane was officially christened by the city.
Yeah.
We have beautiful artwork there, and it's become, through the efforts of Tanya and Doug Hiltz, it's become a place where, which has generated a tremendous amount of opportunities and goodwill for people in need.
So let's, Jennifer, talk really about, because Stone Soup, it comes from a story. It's a very old, marvelous story.
So pretty much any European culture has their own version of it. But essentially, to really sum it up in a couple lines, is that the community comes together to give whatever they have to put into a soup to feed the community. And at Wisteria Community Association, our slogan is community for the community.
Yes.
So it really plays into that. And actually what they're calling it now is love soup. So.
Oh, I'm liking that even better.
Yeah.
Love Soup is perfect. And you know, everything, you know, when we look at grassroots community organizations like Wisteria Community Association, and I have to keep looking down and checking that out because I truly am so used to calling it Nob Hill. The rationale about changing the name was so that there could be a development of even further programs and create a new board of directors and all kinds of wonderful things. And you're the latest board of director, is that right?
I am. So I wear a lot of hats.
You do.
But essentially the whole thing for the name change was we will go anywhere in Nanaimo and help out communities. So
Absolutely.
it's not just about Nob Hill.
Exactly. Exactly. And the more that we are out there working with the community, the better off it is for everyone,
Absolutely.
right? And it starts with something simple. It starts with
a pot.
It starts with a pot. Tell us about this pot, because this is a great new. Come on.
Yeah, I mean it's a huge and beautiful pot.
It's a huge and beautiful pot.
And it's actually been used to make the soups that have been served, and it will be used tomorrow to make the soups. Now, today, we would like to encourage people to fill this pot with donations and with support.
Yes.
And with help, so that this can continue. Becoming homeless is a very easy thing to do.
Absolutely.
And there's just we read about things in the news that like, for example, the collapse of Sears in our town.
Yes.
What's going to happen with what these 400 workers that depended on, that were working hard, and what will happen to them? That's concerning. Rising interest rates. New homeowners. They've worked hard to put down the down payment on their house, and then interest rates go up and they can't make the payments. you know.
You know, I've always believed that it's really, I grew up on social assistance. I grew up, you know, getting, our food came from the food bank. If it wasn't for some of the great people in town as community, which is why everything that's about Stew and Soup and the European story is such a passion for mine in all of the work that I find myself part of. But the premise behind it is that every single person, every person can contribute to the soup pot, whether or not it is, in our case, in our community, food, dollars, you know, what does that look like? Time. So how does someone volunteer? And we just got a couple minutes, not even a couple minutes, a few seconds left.
I'd like to just
pop the pot.
Just pop the pot. We don't have any donations in here right now, but we do have just a poster with the stone soup. Please remember that name.
Yes.
And
Stone Soup.
Yeah.
And find Wisteria Community Association on Facebook, like
Absolutely.
our Facebook page, and there's events every night. You can get in contact with myself or Tanya Hiltz.
Absolutely, and really these posters are found everywhere. You can see them. But the easy thing to remember is Stone Soup. Thanks so much for coming to the show.
Thank you so much for having
Andrew,
us.
it's always great to see you. It's always great to see you. I know we're going to have you back again. But your daughter Aurora's just about ready for Sweepy Time, and she loves the tune. So we're going to go on over to listen to a bit of the band. But Matt Carter's going to share who our great guests are again, listening to some tunes.
Thank you.
Thank you very, very much, Clarissa. Also, thank you to Jennifer and Andrew as well. Never underestimate the power, yes, of a good bowl of soup, whether jumbo gumbo, maybe a prouder chowder, or a hell of a brawny mulligatawny. Gotta love it. All right, I'm getting some booze from Clarissa over there. Anyways, let's also never underestimate the power of great musicians performing great music as well. So very time to give us our musicians their due right now. From Salt Spring Island, the Buck Dodgers String Band. Band, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Matt.
Really glad to have you guys here. So first off, I know some people might associate Salt Spring with draft dodgers, not Buck Dodgers. So what the heck's the story behind the name?
Well, the funnest thing to do before you start your string band is to name your string band. Most people do it before they can play. We came up with a lot of names, but Catherine can take credit for the Buck Dodgers. Many dark nights, you're driving down the island roads, and that's exactly what you're doing. You're dodging bucks. And we also liked Buck Rogers. If you haven't watched it, sexy sci-fi.
I got to admit, going over your Facebook page and stuff, some of those graphics are pretty incredible of the buck with the flashlight and everything.
Yeah, it's got its own. It's a nice hybrid.
Exactly. I love the fun of it. So since we got Matt, the guitarist, on the mic here, give your musicians here a bit of a shout out. Who else do we have in the band?
I'd love to. This is Greg Duckett on the fiddle, and we have Alan Wardroper on the upright bass. And this is the beautiful Catherine on the frailing banjo.
Perfect. All right. And just give me a little bit of history here when the band first got together.
Well, we've got together just over a year ago. And Catherine and I, we are married. We have children. And so we kind of are the nucleus in the sense that we looked very hard, high and low, to find a fiddler. And we found him finally on Salt Spring Island. And since then, it's been a lot of fun because we're picking up a lot of music and a lot of gigs here and there. Alan Wardroper, he joined us most recently, and we heard about his band having a little trouble. So we waited for about a week, and then we made the phone call, to be very honest.
Swooped right in, yeah.
Yeah, it was a good friend who's in his band, too. We had to ask his permission.
A little courtship, as it were.
Yes, it was.
Nice courtship. You mentioned the children. What do they think of the music?
Well, they have to listen to it from about 8 to 11 o'clock every Monday night when they're going to bed. They love it. And I asked them just the other night when we were tucking them in if it bothered them, and I don't think it does. They've grown up with it since they were in bassinets. Catherine played a fantastic show at the Alex Goulden, and she had our 7-month or 9-month-old son strapped to her back, and it was just it's just a beautiful thing to involve the kids in the music every step of the way.
Yeah, I grew up in a musical household. Yeah, not much better. Kids, what about audiences? What's the audience reaction? I know obviously, like a lot of folks might, are more used to hearing more sort of contemporary genres. Yeah. So what's the audience reaction to this old style Americana?
It depends where you are, because this style of old-time music is quite popular in some larger city centers like Victoria or Vancouver. You go to Portland, Oregon. It's a very big scene. Here on Salt Spring, it's not as big a scene as it can be, and it will be. But as far as it is right now, it's just a lovely genre of music that it gets people hopping. dancing, and it welcomes the kids and the grandmas and grandpas and all the sexy people in between. You know what I mean?
That's a good point. Yeah, in terms of demographic reach, I mean, anyone can enjoy it, right? Like obviously harmonically, it can draw you in really, really nicely. And as we heard in the songs already, the spirit is there with those tunes as well.
Yeah. It's just music. It's folk music.
Yeah.
for
I do want
people.
to ask you. You mentioned dancing. Well, first off, who's the best dancer in the band?
Catherine.
Is that
by
true,
far.
guys? Oh yeah. On the way there. Looking at some of your gigs and stuff, you mentioned a thing called contra dancing. What's that? It doesn't involve Oliver North or anything like that.
Well, it's No, that's a really, you're dating yourself, I guess, right? How old is Oliver
There's
North?
some blonde coming in his beard here. I noticed. Yeah.
Oh, you're just teasing me now. The contra dancing is like square dancing. There's a collar, but square dancing, you kind of stick to square shape in your dances, whereas contra dance, you have a lot of fun takes on it. There could be lines and circles. There can even be little spirals. I don't know calling as much as a collar would, but I'm always really eager to play a contra dance because I find it's sometimes a little easier to get your head around, and it's a whole lot of fun.
Nice. Well, speaking of gigs, we're going to wrap up here really shortly, but you have an upcoming show coming up at the end of March, I do believe?
We do, March 30th on Salt Spring Island at the Legion. And that show starts at about 7:30, run till about 11 o'clock. And lots of shows on Salt Spring, usually throughout the summer. We like to play at the Treehouse, the Legion, Moby's, and on and on.
Yeah, great views. Last question for you. Where can people find out more information about the band and your music?
Yeah, go on Facebook and look under the Buck Dodgers Stringband. If you want to set up a square dance or hire a really fun rootin' tootin' band for your wedding, that's what we're specializing in these days, and it's quite a bit of fun. So think about it.
All right. Well, Catherine, Greg, Matt, Alan, thank you so much for being here. In terms of the music, proof is in the pudding, as they say, so I'll let you guys get set up.
Thanks,
and
Matt.
we'll have the Buck Dodgers String Band, a little song called Snowdrop for
Thank you very much.
on the show on Shaw TV. Take it away.
And there's nothing better than having a little bit of dancing, a little bit of moving, and a whole lot of very, very, very beautiful roses to make you feel really, really good at the end of a very long day. With me today is Lillian Boudot. See, I said that one right. It must be because it's French, right? Is it French?
Right. Yes.
It is. There you go. And
Yeah.
I don't speak French, so
Yeah.
that was just a fluke. But you have something special going on, don't you, Lillian? You have created this magic. Tell us a bit about your dream.
Well, 3 years ago, I believe God gave me a dream in my heart to open a high tea house with all this beautiful china and different things, everything roses, to bless women.
Yes.
And I just feel that to bless women in all walks of life.
Yes.
So many times life is so busy, you know, we get wrapped up with everyday chores and sports with children and grandchildren and things like that. And I just have a beautiful dream to one day have a tea house where I will be able to, you will come into my tea house possibly feeling down or exhausted or discouraged or whatever, and you will leave feeling blessed and refreshed.
And there's nothing more delightful. You know, in England, it's if you're feeling down, you pop in and you sit down and you have a pot of tea. Pot of tea
Yes.
is always on.
Right.
But a pot of tea is one thing, but an afternoon tea has a whole different joy to it.
Yes.
What inspired you to choose afternoon tea?
I don't know, it's just a high tea, and it just, you know, and you can come in like probably, if I did have a tea house, or when I do get a tea house, the hours would probably be from 11 until 3, you know, and I would also have different functions, like different events, like maybe showers or birthdays and things like that.
So let me just be clear with people right off the go. So first of all, you don't actually have a tea house now.
No.
However, because this is a really important dream for you,
Yeah.
which you started, as I understand it, some time ago. You started
Yeah.
out by being gifted. I think you said it was like
Yes.
this pattern
Yes.
plate. Let's tell us the story of this piece.
One of the nurses at where I worked blessed me with 60 pieces of Royal Albert Country Rose bone china, and I've never owned a piece in my life, but she blessed me with that because I shared my dream with her, and that was her grandmother's. There was a box full of that in her garage, and she spoke with her parents about it. Her parents said they'd love for me to have it, so she blessed me with it. Yeah.
So she blessed you with that, and then because I understand, like, first of all, you're hitting a passion for me. People don't know that I have a secret collection of china that I have at home that I pick up from every garage sale I can, and the idea behind it is that china should be used every day.
Yeah.
So I use it every day.
Yeah.
But you have a whole different mission. Yours is use it every day because it does something for your heart. You came from quite a difficult background.
Yes.
And that was part of this inspiration, right?
Well, I was in an abusive marriage for 11 years, and then I left after 11 years with my 3 children and moved away to Toronto. And so I know all the feelings of women, like, you know what I mean, different feelings like depression, loneliness, anxiety at times, and different things. So that's why I have a passion in my heart to bless women, you know, like with this tea house. You come in and you'll be blessed and refreshed.
So people can help you out with this, can't they, right?
Yes,
they can,
certainly.
You know, if you have china around, what do you think about that? Like, how do you make your dream come true? What would you like to see happen?
Well, if anybody would like to donate, if there's any grandmas out there that have old china collecting dust in the attics, you know, they'd be welcome to donate. I I mainly like the 3-tier plates
Yes, they're
and the
hard to find,
teapots.
too.
Yes,
Yes, yes.
And everything, if you notice, everything I have is roses.
Yes.
Everything has roses on it. That's
Yeah.
my
So it
my
can't just be any
theme.
china, it's roses.
Yes.
And roses represent what to you?
To me, special,
Yes.
unique,
Yes.
and love.
And love. Special,
Yeah.
unique, love.
Yeah.
So special, unique love to me also means really pretty flowers and pretty desserts and
yes.
sandwiches. And high tea typically has these things. So
Yes.
just very quickly, what kind of things could you find on your trays when if you're going to people's homes and maybe
Yeah.
doing birthdays or whatever?
Right.
Right now, without the tea house, you do private work, right?
Yes.
You can.
I'm
Absolutely.
about to start. Yes.
You're about to start.
Yes.
I hope your dream comes true. I'm
Yes.
so excited for you.
Yes.
So tell me what would be a great start on a finger sandwich or something like that.
There's all kinds of different sandwiches. There's deviled egg, there's ham and Swiss cheese, there's turkey and lettuce and cranberry, and there's scones that come with the jam and usually cottage cheese. I usually have a little glass out of cottage cheese too, which goes on top, and the butter, and just a variety, whatever the person would like to have on the tray.
Well, I tell you, I know that Matt sneaks in because he's like, and I'm doing the same because it's like we're loving this.
Absolutely.
It's such a wonderful thing, Matt. Women need to feel empowered, and the second that we feel that, when you have hearts like yours, that's the stuff that makes us walk ahead as women all over anywhere we are.
Yes.
I'm just so inspired by you and your roses. Thank you so
and
much.
I would just like to say
Yes.
that some of the guests today have been talking about homelessness. Well, if you knew of a homeless person, a homeless lady, you could bring her into my tea house when I get it, and she would leave feeling blessed no matter what her situation. You know?
Bless you for doing everything you're doing.
You're
It's
welcome.
just, I wish such joy and success.
Thank
and I
you.
know our entire community does.
Yes, thank you very much.
Absolutely. And I think, and you said it, I was thinking just what a great tie-in it is for the overall, the program, the episode here today, about that spirituality, nourishing.
Yes.
And we talked about homelessness, but also, the Soapstone project in terms of food being nourishing.
Yeah.
Perfect example of this as well, right? I know,
Right.
Kathy and I talk a lot about, about craft beer, but also tea. I'm a big tea fan as well.
And me too. And really, tea for me in pretty cups. Would you like pretty cups too?
I only have plastic cups at home, so really,
Well,
that's my
you
entire.
have to come to a tea.
I must need. I do have one question for Lillian, really important. So, sort of our second-rate director, Todd Jones, he doesn't like hot beverages at all. So, what would you say to Todd if he was watching this right now?
Oh dear.
He does not like hot beverages: coffee, tea, hot chocolate, nothing. And yet we're all in agreement. Tea is very nourishing and a wonderful thing. So.
Well, I'm not going to say a cold beer. How about iced tea?
Perfect. I think that says it all right there.
Good.
Awesome. Lillian, thank you so much for being here. As
Okay.
Cathy mentioned, all the best of your endeavors. Cathy,
Thank
thank
you.
you so much as well for having this segment going. And I got to admit, as I mentioned, I'm a big tea fan as well. Unfortunately, the nickname Mr. T has already been taken. But pity the fool talks down into tea. I've actually enjoyed tea really for a long time now. It's not something I'm really green about. I think tea matches up nicely with other hot beverages. And actually, at the top of the show, I was talking about golf as well. I was trying to think of a tea golf combo. I remember that legendary golfer, Chai Rodriguez. Chai Rodriguez. He's the guy who did the big thing. Someone remembered over there. I like it. We're almost out of time in the show. I'm almost out of tea as well. So I have to send you down the road to get a little more tea for the stash. Oh, wait a minute. The director is telling me gingerly to get a move on and sail on out of here. I know we need a psalm from our musicians, but you're hurting my Darjeelings, Fiona. At this rate, I'll never earn a red rose. Unbelievable. Anyways, one last joke for you. You know the Dukes of Hazzard, right? The Duke boys? How did the Dukes of Hazzard import their tea into Hazzard County? It was the Roscoe Pico train. It was on the Roscoe Pico train. Pico train. They're actually trying to throw stuff at me over there. There's got to be some workers' comp there. Oh, nice throw, Howie. Anyways, thanks to all of our guests. We got to move on here real quickly before I get beamed in the head. That's a coffee joke. Thanks to all of our guests and our hardworking volunteers and staff in front of the cameras and behind the scenes. You can find more about this program on Facebook, facebook.com/The Show on Shaw. Check out previous episodes of the show on YouTube as well. Do you have an event, cause, demonstration, or hot beverage you'd like to bring to the show? We're always looking for great Central Vancouver Island guests, so drop us a line to Kelly Robinson, kelly.robinson@sjrb.ca. Help help you out. And if you want to volunteer for the show, it's pretty much all a volunteer crew. We'd love to have you involved. Contact our volunteer coordinator, Melissa Hall, at melissa.hall@sjrb.ca. So now to finish off the show, though, one more song for the very, very talented Buck Dodgers Stringband from Salt Spring, right in behind me, a track called Sally Ann. Cheers to you for watching the show right here on Shaw TV.
I'm gonna